Now let's talk about how we can create a data table using GraphQL result. So in the previous video, we have talked about how we iterate with the records that we got, and then how we are going to display the information. And if we go to Salesforce, this is how our page looks like, right? This is how our page looks like. Now let's say that there is a requirement that you wanted to implement a lightning data table, and where you wanted to display contact name, phone, email, contact created date, account name, account annual revenue, account industry. So you wanted to display these kind of information into the lightning data table. So you already know that we have got GraphQL, which is really powerful, and we could get the information using the GraphQL. Even it requires complex filtering, even it requires dynamic filtering, runtime search, we could do with that. So that is what we are going to do. We will modify the same component which we have used in the previous lecture, and we are going to create another data table. In this component, we are going to add a data table here in the below, and then we are going to see how we are going to convert this GraphQL response as a data table data. So coming back to the JavaScript part first, because this is the place where we are going to add some additional values for contact. So let's add email. We wanted to add email. We only need value. Then we wanted to have phone of the contact. Then we will add value, and then created date. Created date is another field that we wanted to display here, and created date will have two value and display value. Okay, display value is kind of going to give you the information like the date, time, and then AM and PM with that. Okay, then under account we have got account name, we have got account rating, let's say annual revenue, and then you wanted to query you wanted to query value and display value, and let's also add query for account as well, ID field. Okay, this is the small change that you have to do in the GraphQL query to get the desired field that you want. Next that you have to do is, let's create couple of variables here. We will say data list. By default it is a blank array, and let's create columns list. By default we are going to say columns. Now from where this columns is coming, because we have used these columns, so how and where this column is defined, we are going to define a constant variable on the top of our class. We will say constant columns, and columns are basically array of objects. Columns are array of object for any data table, and this takes label. What is going to be the label of your column, your table column? So let's say we are saying label is a name. What is a field name? What is field name? So this should be the name that is there in your data set. So let's say we are going to use name, and then what is a type? So type is going to be text. Similarly, let's say we are going to add for phone, email, and let's change it. One is going to be phone, and then other is going to be email. Type for phone, let's make it as phone. For email, let's make it as email. Then let's have something called account name, let's say account name, and here we will say annual revenue as a label. What is the field name here? So let's say we are going to say account name, and here we will say account revenue. Account name, account revenue. For name, let's say type is text. For revenue, type is currency. type is currency, and then in the last we are going to say created date. Let's field name is going to be created date, type is date. So these are the columns that we prepared. We are not going to go deep because we have already covered what data table is, how to work with the data table. And then this is the line number 28 is the place where we are kind of referring this variable in our JavaScript itself. So these are the two variables. Data list is going to use to store the data in the form of table. Column list are the columns that we are going to display in the data table. Okay, now let's get back to the HTML where we are going to add the syntax for Lightning data table. So let's take this division. You could put it anywhere in this component. I'm putting it below the search result that we're getting, and here we are going to say lightning data table, and this lightning data table takes multiple attributes that we are going to use three main attributes. One is going to be key field, and we will say ID. What is this key field? Key field is a unique field. Key field is a unique field that is going to be assigned to each lightning data table. It is similar to this key which you are adding in the for each, Then what is data? So you have to say, I think data, what is this? We have got columns. First we've got columns. So columns are going to be binded with our variable called columns list, and then we have got data. I think it should be data or something. Okay, this is data only, not other variable, data only, and we will say data list. Then there are other attributes that are not required as of now for this demo purpose. Our data table is ready. There are variables ready in the JavaScript. We have not prepared anything as of now. Let's go ahead and deploy this part of code only. So we added additional fields in the GraphQL query. We created a couple of variables in the JavaScript to store the data for the table, to store the columns for the table. Then in the HTML side, we have created a lightning data table referring to those variables. Now our component has been deployed. We are going to get back to the Salesforce org. Let's go ahead and refresh this page. If you are not logged in, please go ahead and log in, and then we are going to refresh the page. Okay, so you see here we have got a table here that's not actually displaying anything, but all the columns are created. That means our data table syntax is correct. And in the HTML, I'm not sure if we still have that console.log for the result. If not, that is fine, completely fine. So we have got this right now. If you understand, or maybe if you remember, in the lightning data table we have to get the data as a array of objects, and those objects should contain the attributes which we are adding as a columns field name. So our data should be something like this. If I have to maybe tell you, let's say constant records, it is going to be an array of objects, and that object is going to contain name, some value here, because this is the API name. Then it is going to contain phone, okay, some phone here. Then it's going to contain email, some email here, okay, let's say saying or something. Then it's going to have account name, so the name of account may be salesforce.com. Then it's going to have annual revenue, some currency over here. Then in the last it needs to have created date, something like this, right? And this object could be repeated multiple times. Why I'm telling you this, why I'm telling you all this? that this is how the object is going to look like, because we have to prepare our data in this format only. We have to prepare our data in this format only. The current data is like it says, if you scroll down to the wired function, yeah, it is commented out actually. We'll uncomment this. It says we have got data, UI API, query, contact, edges, and under edges we have got, edges is basically going to give you the array of records. Under edges you have got node, and under node you actually have got the fields, and then field API name. Under that you have got value. So basically there is a whole lot of traversing that you have to do like this, and this is where data table does not understand the relationship, the dot notation. So we have to prepare, we have to synthesize, we have to basically feed the data in the way that lightning data table is looking for. We have to prepare the data in such a way. For that, what we will do is we are going to use map function of JavaScript, which takes an array as an input and returns another array as an output. So we are going to say this dot data list equal to this dot records dot map, and map actually takes a callback function as a input parameter. It takes a callback function as an input parameter, which takes three things like index, item, original array. But we are only going to take one, that is item, and that is going to be sufficient. And this item is basically nothing. It is going to give us this portion, like we still have to go to node, name, and value like this. Okay, or let's quickly do a console.log, deploy it to Salesforce org, and test it. I don't want to rush it. I just want you to understand every single thing. Whatever we are writing it here, you should be understanding. So we have deployed it. Let's refresh this page, and now we will see the different consoles for different items. Okay, so you could see here it says cannot define properties. That's fine. Not to worry. This is completely fine. So this is our first debug. This is containing the whole lot of response. Okay, so we've got UI API dot query dot contact dot edges, and then we have got under edges we have got node. Under node we have got all those fields like account, created date. Then you see clearly difference between created date, display value, and the other value. Email, then you have got ID, name, and phone. So if you have to get the value for a particular specific field, you have to go field API name dot value, right? So this is the phase that we get here as part of item, and that we have already there in the console. These are all the items, the proxy objects. If you navigate to any proxy object, go to the handler, then under original target, you will clearly see that this is what you're getting as an item. Now you need to convert this item into the data table format, or I would say you need to transform this object into a different object. So how you will transform is, so the map method actually returns something. So we are going to write return, and then we wanted to convert this. We wanted to convert our node, our actually UI API response, GraphQL response in this format. Like it has to be a key as a name, phone, email, account, annual revenue, created date, right? Now let's go here and we'll say, we are going to say item dot, we will have node dot, we will have name dot value, right? Why we are saying node? Because let's get back to browser. It says node, right? Node dot name dot value, node dot email dot value, node dot id, right? That is how we are going to have. Let's have the id column here as well. Why we are having this id? Because the key field in the data table says it is id. Key field says it is id. So we are going to say item dot node dot id. We've got the name. We are going to get phone as well here. Then we are going to get email. Then we are going to, now here this created date is something created date, like this. Now these are the two things very important. These are the related object data. Now contact is basically having an optional relationship with account. So if you, there could be a possibility that the contact does not have account. There could be a possibility that contact does not have an account, right? So what you have to do is, first you have to say, okay, let me do like this. You will say item dot node dot item dot node dot account dot annual revenue and dot name. This is how you put, right? Dot annual revenue and dot name. So you will say dot account dot annual revenue dot value, and for name you are going to say, instead of annual revenue you are going to say name. Okay, but there could be an instance where this particular thing is actually giving you a blank value because there is nothing, there is no account for related contact. So you cannot say undefined dot annual revenue dot value. You cannot say undefined dot annual revenue dot value, right? What I mean to say, I will show you. First let's deploy this, because we have just prepared this map is going to execute one by one for each records. Transform the GraphQL response into the correct object, correct JSON object we need. Feed it into this variable called data list. Data list is already mapped to the UI, and we should be able to see the data table. So let's go ahead and, sorry, I ran the different command. It should be deploy this source. Deploy this source to org, not the delete one. So yes, we got the component changes has been deployed. Let's quickly refresh this, and this time we'll see either we are able to see the data table on the UI, any error is coming, and that is coming. Yes, the error is coming. And why it says okay, cannot read the value, properties of undefined reading value. Definitely it is trying to read the properties. Okay, so let's say it has got contact. Okay, sorry, it has got the error in the first record itself while preparing something. Let's see what exactly it says. We've got item dot node dot name. Okay, let's see here. We have got node, what it says, we've got node dot name. Okay, we've got no name dot value, phone dot value, email dot value is there, created date dot value is there, account name dot value, account dot name dot value is there. So we have got this. It could be for a different contact. Let's quickly go through with each contact. We have the value. So we are querying on edges. Okay, edges is going to give us array. It has got node. Okay, no worries. Let's do one thing. Let's say console.log, and we are going to print this item in the form of JSON, or not JSON, in the form of string. So we'll say JSON.stringify item, and let's deploy it. I'm doing it in front of you. I could have done this behind the scene and told you what is the problem. But as usual, I want you to understand what is the error and how we are solving it. So this JavaScript is really a funny language. Sometimes you get the error, but you don't know the source. So this time we got this error. And we still don't know where is the error, but it still says cannot read properties of undefined, and we have got this result. We've got this. Okay, let's copy this, and we are going to go to code beautify JSON viewer, beautify this org, and see which is giving us the undefined value. Okay, node.id, that's good, we got it. Then we got So this is our item. This whole object is our item. Under item we have got node, and node says node dot name dot value, email, phone, create a date. What error it, what field it could be? Okay, there could be maybe a typo mistake. So node is correct, name is correct, phone is correct, email is also correct. Then account, okay, you see here, there is a typo mistake. It should be annual revenue instead of account revenue. Sorry, the top one should be name, this should be account name, and the other one should be annual revenue instead of account revenue. It should be annual revenue. That is why it is giving the error. So JavaScript actually doesn't told you if there is that specific variable available or not, and then you get into the error, and that is where actually developers start hating the JavaScript. But we quickly figure it out. Okay, it should be annual revenue instead of account revenue. Okay, account revenue is actually the key for our data table. Now we have deployed the fix. Let's refresh this page, and we should be able to see the data table getting displayed with the desired data. And woohoo, we got it here. You see the name, phone number, email, account name, annual revenue, it is a currency, date, it is a date, and we got it. Now create a date is actually not displaying the date part, displaying the time part. You can always go ahead, add the cell attributes to filter it, format it. You could do this whatever you want. Okay, now let's search for Amit Singh. You got two results on the top, and you got two results in the table itself, because we are the same GraphQL query is controlling both the results. Same GraphQL is controlling both the result. So this is basically you quickly create the lightning data table. And now there is one part which is missing, that is applying the pagination into the lightning data table, or in any kind of logic, any kind of UI with the help of GraphQL. We are going to cover that concept into the next video, how we could implement pagination with the help of GraphQL.